Welcome back to Fantasy Baseball, Baseball, Baseball. Part of Fantasy Baseball, Baseball, Baseball is the baseball part. And we're going to go over what is going on and some things we see going on in Major League Baseball, Steve.
I love baseball.
I do
I love
too.
when I get a chance to watch it.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about a little of that too. I should have brought that up earlier, but right now in overall Major League Baseball, the San Diego Padres are 13-3 and lead Major League Baseball with the best winning percentage and the most wins. 13
Yeah,
and
the
3, San
Padres are
Diego. Wow.
Padres are looking good. They are dealing right now.
And then
They're hitting and they're pitching.
absolutely, they're playing great. It's a great pitcher's park, as we know. San Francisco is 11-4. The Dodgers are 11-6. Are playing also great. Those are the next two best percentages in Major League Baseball. So the NL West has the top three winning percentages in MLB right now.
Yeah, yeah, that could be. I mean, I don't expect the Giants to hang in that fight, but I'm happy the Padres are. I mean, the Padres still got some great players, so let's not sell them short. But they did shave like $100 million off their payroll over the past 2 years. So it is kind of crazy that they're playing that good.
It is, but they definitely have some players still, who are quality players you can expect to get those stats from. I like the Padres team actually. I love seeing them play well. The Frisco, you said, might not keep it up, but listen, you just never know. They sign players who like, it's not a decent signing, but if some of these guys come through and some of the young guys, I don't know. It's fun to see them at 11-4 though, and the Dodgers actually in third place. I did misspeak. The higher percentage is the Mets at 10-5 at 667 over the Dodgers 647, but still the NL West is strong. We'll go to the NL East. The Mets at 10-5 and the Phillies at 9-6 and Miami 8-7 are the only teams above 500. The Mets spent a lot of money.
The Mets spend a lot of money. I don't really like their team though. I mean, when I look at it, I don't think of them as having a great team, but they've started off well, 10-5. Soto has not started off all that great. So, I mean, he's been average, nothing amazing for what they're paying him. Um, I love the Phillies. I think the Phillies roster is great. Kind of shocked the Marlins are above 500,
Above 500,
87.
even this early. You're like, wow, they're playing pretty
Yeah,
good for them.
even yeah, because they're never above 500.
No, they're not. Um, Real quick about the Mets, Lindor batting 222. Soto is only batting 250. He's not playing good at all. He's only got four ribbies for the Mets.
Yeah,
He does have 12 runs and only one stolen base. So he didn't get that many. So he's been not, but Alonso, he's batting 321. Listen, Alonso's not going to bat 321.
no, those guys are going to switch. One's going to rise, one's going to fall.
Absolutely. I mean, last year about a 240, the year before 217. He did bat 271 in 22. So that would be the best case scenario I think you can think for Alonso. I like my Phillies lineup too. They're 9-6. I'm okay with that start. Um, Wheeler is not, last two games have been bad, but the Phillies are pretty much where I expect them to be. The Cubs at 11-7, another 11 win team. Uh, they're playing great. Tucker's starting out fantastic. What do you think of the Cubs?
I mean, I didn't realize how good they had been playing, to be quite honest. They're they lead all of baseball in run differential with a plus 43 run differential. And they only
Wow.
played 18 games.
Wow.
So that's like what, two and a half or 2.4 run every game more? They're outscoring their opponents.
Well,
That's
first of all,
significant.
yeah, exactly. They're the only team with over 100 runs scored. They have 116 runs scored.
Yeah.
That's
They're
crazy.
first, they're 11 ahead of the Yankees. And then their runs against are kind of in the middle of the pack. So they're like average runs against and number one in runs scored by quite a bit.
Yeah, Yankees are second at 95 is what I got on here on MLB. Yeah, so they're playing really well. Um, Tucker, I mean, when you listen, it's great to see him get off to a fantastic start. Happy for him.
Yeah.
He's playing really well. He's batting 324. His counting stats are nice. Um, he's got 3 stolen bases, 5 homers, 18 ribbies. He's playing great. And overall, the Cubs, you got Hap, Tucker, Justin Turner is starting at DH. Bush is off to a great
No,
start. We
he's
talked
yeah.
about him
Only against lefties.
only against
Justin
left.
Turner's playing only against lefties. Yep.
Gotcha. Bush off to a great spot. Swanson, who's batting only 188, but we talked about him earlier that he's got great counting stats actually. Um,
Yeah.
Nico Horner at batting 291. So I mean, they got some good players. Shaw. People were expecting something out of Shaw. 164. They're still playing him though. 55 at bats. He's not gotten off to the start they were hoping Matt Shaw would get off to.
No, quite a few of the heralded rookies have gotten off to slow starts. Him, Cam Smith from the Astros is off to a slow start,
Yeah.
and Dylan Cruz, who I know got called up at the end of last year during the call-ups and probably played in 20 games, but he's a rookie this year, and oh, his numbers are horrible for Washington. So a
Just
lot of the
horrible.
rookies are
Not
not doing well.
not panning out to start the season. And the Cubbies just lost Steele, went to the injured list. Um, and that could be a big loss for them because their pitching is, they've given up 73 runs, so it's good, but not great. But the Cubbies off to an 11-7 start. That's nice. Good for them. 8-8 is Cincinnati and Milwaukee at 8-8, and they're just one game below 500. St. Louis at 7-8, and Pittsburgh at 5-11. I didn't finish the NL East. Washington at 6-9, and Atlanta 4-11, and weren't they 0-8 or 1-8? So they went 3-3.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they were 0-8.
0-8. So they've gone 4-3, and look, they're still 4-11. So that's just a horrible start for the Mets. I mean, like we discussed that before. How about, like when you get that much in a hole, you can have a great week and you're still in a hole. We talk. It's just not good. We talked about that in out West. Besides Arizona, who's 9-7, so they're playing pretty well. They're 4 games back. They're in a tough division though. Arizona. I mean, think about it. If San Francisco plays as well as they are in San Diego, San Francisco, the Dodgers, and Arizona, who had a great year last year, and then Colorado 3-12, already out of contention. Um, Sorry to say for the Colorado, because it's a beautiful place to play baseball, as we were talking about. AL real quick: Toronto 9-7, the Yankees 8-7, Boston 8-9. How do you feel about that, Red Sox fan?
They've looked good games and bad games,
Yeah,
but leading the league in errors already is kind of crappy, huh? When
yeah.
you have like 19 errors in 16, 17 games, that's not good.
Hey, just to let you know, they've given up 77 runs and they've scored 77 runs.
Yeah,
That's hard to
yeah.
do. That is hard to do. So I had to point that out. Tampa Bay 7-8 and Baltimore 6-9. You kind of expect both of them, especially Baltimore, to play better. So that's a tough division, as we discussed. Detroit off to a good start, 9-6. Cleveland 8-7. KC 8-8. So those are the three contenders there. Minnesota 5-11. The White Sox at 4-11. I mean, the White Sox you expect to be 4-11. Minnesota, I would thought was expecting to be a little better in 5-11. That's a very tough start.
And if you look at run differential, which, at this 16, 15 games in, 17 games in, one or two bad games can skew this drastically. But the White Sox are only -3 in run differential, and Minnesota's -13. So
Well, I,
Minnesota's
I
pitching
have
staff
I
has
have the
gotten
Red
beat
Sox.
up.
Boston, I have the differentials is 77-77. This is zero.
Yep,
Yeah, so they're right on.
that's a
Uh,
that's an even swap.
That's hard to do. I'm telling you. No, the rest of the year, that's not going to happen with anybody. And then the AL West to finish it off. The Angels, as we discussed before, 9-6. They're getting some good play, some young guys. Trout's playing well, even though his average is low. They're getting some good pitching. They're leading the division. 9-7 Texas, 8-8 Seattle. They had a good week. They won 4 in a row now. So they were 4-8. So they're
Yeah,
now 8-8. So that's nice to get out of that early hole by winning 4 straight. That was nice. Houston at 7-8, and then the A's in their bandbox at 6-10.
And the A's with a negative 24 run differential.
That
That's terrible.
terrible. 89 runs against and 65 runs scored. That is terrible. Texas also, you know, negative 19 at 51 run scores and 70 runs against. I mean, that's
Look at that. Texas is 9-7 with a
I know.
negative 19 run
That's
differential.
yeah, exactly. That's they've won some interesting games. I don't know if they've gotten blown out a couple times or what. The Angels at 75 to 78, trying to do that Boston thing of matching the numbers, runs scored and runs against. So that's the Major League standings right now. Let's go over some quick leaders. What's going on stat wise in the early going? This is George Springer. He's batting 375, leading the league. He just got a little injury though, I think.
He did just get a little injury. 375 for George Springer.
48 at bats. It's good to
How old,
see.
how, how old is George Springer these days? I'm going to guess he's 33.
35.
Oh, he's 35.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And
Damn.
that's a good average for him. He batted 220 last year, 258 in 23, and 267 in 22. So that's obviously going to come down. Too bad he got hurt. Ruiz for the Nationals playing well. Catcher, 365. Goldschmidt. I want to bring up
Yeah.
Paul Goldschmidt. Here's a guy who's led off for him. I think he's even batted fourth for him. He's kind of just doing whatever they want for him. He's batting 357. He's only got one homer. He's got six ribbies. So he's not like, 8 runs. But here's a guy who's never been to the World Series.
Damn. Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, I'll lead off, whatever. whatever,
Yeah. And he's
whatever
playing
you need.
well.
He's playing well. I love to see it. It's nice to see these veterans who they start to slip, it seems, for a year or two, and then they're playing well. But we'll see if it holds up. Judge is a guy who will probably hold up. Maybe not 357, but he's just playing great. 6 homers, 20 ribbies. He's the real deal.
Look, his on base is 478.
Crazy. That is just
I
crazy.
mean, so, very close to half the time he steps to the plate, he's getting on base.
We'll just finish out the top 10 here. Tatis at 351, Donovan at 350, Farmer for the Rockies at 349, Lee for the Giants, Jung-Hoo Lee. One of the reasons they're started off so strong, he's batting 348 with 11 ribbies and 3 stolen bases. And he's playing really well for him. It's really his first full
Yeah.
year, 16 runs scored, 3 homers. He got injured last year. Didn't
And
get injured early and lost for the season.
yes,
So it's nice to see him.
his ops is 1100. He's playing great.
He's playing great. Wilson, who was just picked up, we brought up in the head-to-head league, and I
Hmm.
think he was also picked up in the Draft Masters league. He's batting 344,
Yes, he
and then
plays for Athens.
he
Plays for Athens.
he plays for Athens. That's right, the team with no name. I like the name. Do 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 do. Abreu at 340, rounding out top 10 on average. And then real quick in home runs, you got guys you don't expect tied for the league lead. Edman at 6 and Flores at 6. They're tied with Judge, Schwarber, and Soderstrom and Trout. Now, all four of those, even Soderstrom, I could see them being, I mean, I don't know why I think Soderstrom would, but I've heard he's a good power hitter in the minors. Schwarber, Judge, obviously, and Trout, if he's healthy, could be among the league leaders. But Edman and Flores,
Yeah. We're talking about home run leaders?
yeah, we're talking about home run leaders. Tommy Edman has
Hmm.
6. He's tied with Judge. Tommy Edman is playing, batting 250, but 6 homers and 14 ribbies. And Flores, who we actually brought up should be picked up and was picked up by a team in our
Yeah.
Roto League, he's got
Yeah.
6 homers and 20 ribbies. 20 ribbies,
Yeah.
Steve.
In in San Francisco. I don't get it. And the Edmund one, I mean, we made fun of, at least I kind of did. I was like, really going to keep Tommy Edmund in that one league, huh? But on the Dodgers, which really, well, they got off to the great start. They cooled off. Otani's stats are great, but they're not Otani level. But man, Edmonds, Edmonds looks great. I guess he's deserving. This year, Edmund will be deserving. Last year
Yes.
was Teoscar. This year, it's Edmund.
Edmund is playing well, and you know what? I can see him continue. Obviously, not in league leaders and home runs, but I can see him continuing to play well. And then let's just do. There's so many people with five. I'm not even going to get into it. A couple of my players: Jazz Chisholm has five homers. Teoscar has five home runs. Matt Mervis with five home runs. That's a guy interesting.
So, so six people have six home runs, and 19 people have at least five
Yep,
plus. Include so
11, 12,
13
13,
have five, and six
13.
have six.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly. And on that list, Mervis is a surprise. Once highly touted prospect, I believe he was with the Cubs, now getting playing time with the Marlins. Paris with five, changed his swing as we brought up before. A lot of the other guys, though, Ward, maybe you don't expect, but he usually has to start. But mostly Wood with five. But people like Tucker and Torkelson, who had 31 2 years ago, and Suarez and Cal
yeah.
Raleigh, and even O'Hoppe with five, he was he's 20 homer guy. Yeah, you can see those guys, continuing to do what they're doing. But a couple of surprises. Always interesting to see the league leaders. And let's go over pitching. We didn't go over pitching last year. There's not, listen, ERA and, I mean, this early in the season, it's hard to look at, but we do have a few guys who pitched a few games who are under one. Schwellenbach, is it Bubik, Lodolo, Green, and Bassett all have ERAs under one to start the season.
That's not bad.
Not bad at all. It's really early though. And then leading the league in strikeouts is Gilbert. Reagan's with 34, Gilbert with 32 for the Mariners. Nice. Gore with 32, Green with 31. So those are the only ones 30 and above in strikeouts. Listen, especially from a fantasy standpoint, those strikeout pitchers are super important. And even from a baseball standpoint, they're striking out. They're not hitting the ball.
Yeah, and less pressure on your defense and less need to have good defense. Just strike them out. End the story, you
It's
know?
absolutely. I was going through some old stats. I don't remember who. I wish I could. I wish I wrote it down. And some pitchers who were like really good pitchers back in 70s or 80s and stuff. Um, and they didn't even have like over 200 innings, but they had like 95 strikeouts or 120 strikeouts. But they were great pitchers. Their ERA,
Right.
their WHIP, their wins. You're like, wow, he had a great season, but because the game has changed, it's definitely more of a strikeout league. There's a lot more strikeouts in Major League Baseball gathered by these pitchers than ever before in the history of the game. I would say, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, the K per nine rate is way up for sure. That's kind of why too guys could pitch more innings and have more complete games back in the day,
Yep,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely. They didn't go as deep in the counts. They only threw three or four pitches, got a ground out or a fly out, hopefully. And one of the reasons
Hmm.
for all the strikeouts is, the evolution of the swing. The swing has changed a lot. Um, people try to launch it and lift it a lot more than they used to. Before it's just make contact and,
Oh yeah,
hit it where they ain't, as the old saying
yeah.
goes. Pee Wee, I think it was, yeah, Pee Wee Reese says it. Someone said it. Uh, that's not correct. It wasn't Pee Wee Reese who said that. But it was one of the Wainers. There was two Wainers, that played Major League Baseball. Both
I
very
didn't
good.
know.
Yeah, I did not know that. But yeah, I think it's interesting to see how many strikeouts are acceptable. I mean, people are nearing 200 nowadays at a regular pace.
Well, and not throwing as many innings. That's my thing. It'd be one thing when people would have 200 strikeouts, but they'd pitch 250 innings.
Right.
But now the league leader might have 200 strikeouts. Well, they wouldn't. No, there'll be more than that. But there are guys who can get 200 strikeouts only pitching 160 innings. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
don't think there's a lot of those like to the 70s and 80s.
Not at all. I mean, a strikeout per inning was. I mean, Steve Carlton was obviously a guy. I was a Philly fan. He averaged over a strikeout per inning many seasons, but just averaging a strikeout per inning, you're like, yeah, that's a great rate back in the day.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like a 9.1 would be elite. You know.
And now it's like, yeah, we got a bunch of them. Real quick
Yeah.
before we get off talking about Major League Baseball, we got a couple games going on. A pitcher we brought up earlier, I picked up in my head-to-head league, did not pitch well today. Walker for the Phillies. Phillies are losing 6-3 to San Francisco after 2 innings. He's given up 4 earned runs, 5 hits, 1 walk, 2 Ks, and 2 innings. So that pickup, 2 start week, not starting well. What, like you said, the matchups matter, and I matched him up against a very hot team.
Yeah.
Let's see who
Yep.
did it for the
So
Giants.
where's that
Oh,
game at? Is that
that's
in?
in Philly. It's in Philly, and Adamas,
Right.
because he's not playing in Frisco, hit a home run.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That guy's gonna have like, 16 home runs on the road and 4 home runs at home.
And just real quick, your Red Sox also down after 2 innings, 3-0 to the Rays. Tanner Houck, 1.1 inning, 4 hits, 3 runs. Not pitching well.
No, not pitching well at all. The Red Sox got like 3 pitchers on the injured list that are all coming back soon. Um,
Who's this guy?
Lucas Giolito, Brian Bayo, and Cutter Crawford. So they
Who's
do
this
have
guy?
reinforcements coming.
That's good. They're going to need it. Cameron Meisner hit a home run today. I don't know who he is for Tampa Bay. He's got 36 at bats, so and he's batting 361, and he just hit a home run today. So interesting. Wrapping up the games going on during the day, the Royals and Yankees are 0-0 after 2, and the Braves trying to come back from that slow start at 4-11 today, up 2-0 over the Blue Jays after 2 innings. So that's Major League Baseball action. I mean, I don't know about you, Steve, but I love baseball.
I am a baseball fan.
Thank you for listening to Fantasy Baseball. I am Dan O'Day. That's Steve Romano. We'll see you next week.